It has no natural predators. It feels no cold. It can smell you from 20 miles away. And it is the only animal on Earth that will actively hunt a human being without provocation, not fear, out of choice. Most dangerous animals attack when threatened, when cornered, when their young are at risk. The polar bear does not follow this rule. To a polar bear is not a threat. It is not a rival. It is prey, slow, warm, and easy to track across miles of open ice. This is not a creature that has learned to tolerate the edges of human civilization. This is a creature that has spent 4 million years becoming the most perfectly engineered killing machine in the Arctic, and we have barely begun to understand what that actually means. To understand why the polar bear is different, you first need to understand where it lives. The Arctic is not simply cold. It is hostile in ways that punish every system of biology we consider normal. In minutes, the sun disappears entirely. For weeks, the landscape is a featureless expanse of white, broken only by pressure ridges of ice and the black open water of leads, cracks in the sea ice where the ocean breathes. This is not a habitat, it is a test. Every animal that lives here has paid an enormous biological price to do so. The Arctic fox grows a coat so thick it doesn't begin to shiver until temperatures hit -70. The musk ox forms defensive circles, horns outward, sharing body heat at the center. Even the humble ptarmigan grows feathers across its feet, turning them into snowshoes. But the polar bear didn't just adapt to the Arctic, it mastered it. Beneath its white fur, which is not actually white, but transparent, each hollow shaft channeling light down to black skin beneath, lies a layer of fat up to 4 inches thick. Its core temperature remains stable regardless of external conditions. Its enormous paws, stretching up to 30 centimeters across, distribute weight perfectly across thin ice and act as powerful paddles in open water. It can swim continuously for days. One female was tracked swimming over 700 kilometers without stopping. 700 kilometers, without rest, in water just above freezing. No other bear comes close. No other land predator on Earth operates like this. The polar bear exists in a category of its own, a mammal that has pushed the limits of what warm-blooded biology can sustain. And all of that engineering exists for one purpose: to hunt. The primary prey of the polar bear is the ringed seal, and the way it hunts that seal tells you everything you need to know about this animal's patience, intelligence, and ruthlessness. Ringed seals must breathe. Even in the deepest Arctic winter, when the sea ice freezes solid for meters in every direction, a seal must maintain a breathing hole, a small gap in the ice it returns to regularly, keeping it open with its claws. The seal may maintain a dozen of these holes across its territory. It could surface at any one of them. The polar bear knows this. It finds a breathing hole, through smell alone, detecting a seal beneath meters of ice and snow. And it waits, motionless, silent, sometimes for hours, sometimes for most of a day. It crouches at the edge of the hole with a stillness that seems impossible for an animal that can weigh over 700 kilograms. And it waits for the precise moment the seal surfaces. When it strikes, the attack takes less than a second. The bear plunges one forepaw into the hole, hooks the seal, and hauls it through the ice in a single motion. The force required to do this is extraordinary. Scientists have estimated that a polar bear's strike carries enough power to shatter the skull of a beluga whale. This is not brute force combined with luck. This is intelligence combined with physical supremacy. The polar bear understands its prey. It models behavior. It plans across time. Studies have shown that bears will cover breathing holes with their own bodies to block the seal's ability to detect movement from below. They position themselves downwind. They adjust their approach based on ice conditions and wind direction. This is a predator that thinks. Now consider what happens when that predator encounters a human being. You are slower than a seal. You produce significantly more body heat, which means your thermal signature in the Arctic is enormous. You cannot outrun a polar bear. They reach speeds of 40 kilometers per hour across terrain you can barely, and unlike most predators, assess risk before engaging. The polar bear's evolutionary history has left it with almost no instinct for caution around large, unfamiliar objects. It has no predator. It has never needed to develop fear. What it does have is curiosity, persistence, and hunger. 3 qualities that make it extraordinarily dangerous in a way that differs fundamentally from other apex predators. A lion will often abandon a hunt if it becomes complicated or costly. Wolves assess the risk of injury carefully before committing to prey. Even the great white shark, perhaps the most feared predator in the ocean, frequently disengages after an initial strike. These animals have all evolved alongside other dangerous creatures. They understand the cost of injury. They calculate. The polar bear has no such calculation. In its world, if it is hungry and something edible is present, there is no reason not to pursue it. There are no consequences to weigh. No rival predator that might steal the kill. No risk significant enough to register. It will follow a human trail for hours. It will approach a camp directly, without hesitation, in full daylight. It will return, repeatedly, even after being driven away. In Churchill, Manitoba, a small town on Hudson Bay that sits in one of the most active polar bear corridors in the world, locals do not leave their cars unlocked in October, not to prevent theft, to give anyone caught outside by a bear somewhere to take shelter. The town operates a polar bear alert system. There is a holding facility. Locals call it the Polar Bear Jail, where bears are detained before from populated areas. The same bears come back. They remember. Because memory is another thing that we tend to underestimate. Polar bears have been studied enough now that their cognitive abilities have started to become clear. And what researchers have found is unsettling. These animals demonstrate spatial memory across enormous ranges. A bear's territory can cover hundreds of thousands of square kilometers, and it navigates this range with precision, returning to productive hunting areas year after year, tracking the seasonal movements of seals, anticipating where ice will form and where it will break up. This is not instinct in any simple sense. This is learned, individual knowledge, built over years. They also demonstrate something researchers call mental time travel, the ability to plan for future states, rather than simply responding to immediate conditions. Bears have been observed caching food in ways that suggest they are thinking about future scarcity, not just present hunger. They make decisions about energy expenditure with a sophistication that mirrors what we see in wolves and great apes, and they play. Polar bears engage in prolonged, complex social play that researchers believe serves as practice, rehearsing physical techniques and testing limits in preparation for real encounters. When two bears are observed playing, they are also, on some level, sparring, learning, getting better. Everything about this animal's intelligence is oriented toward becoming a more effective hunter. There is something else about the polar bear that most people don't know. It is the only bear species classified as a marine mammal. Its taxonomic classification places it in the same broad behavioral and ecological category as seals and walruses, not alongside grizzlies or black bears, alongside the animals it hunts. This matters because it changes how we understand its relationship with water, with ice, with habitat. The polar bear does not visit the sea. It lives there. Its entire reproductive cycle, its migration patterns, its hunting strategies, all of them are built around the sea ice. When the ice is present, the bear is at its most powerful, its most capable, its most dangerous. It is operating in its optimal environment, doing what it has spent millions of years evolving to do. And that environment is changing. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. The ice that once remained stable through summer is now retreating earlier and forming later. The window during which polar bears can hunt effectively, during which they can access seals on the ice, is shrinking year by year. A bear that once had 7 months of productive hunting now may have 5, sometimes 4. This creates something more dangerous than a well-fed apex predator. It creates a hungry one. Bears that spend more time on land due to ice loss come into contact with human settlements more frequently. They are in worse physical condition, leaner, more desperate, with higher stress hormones and lower inhibitory thresholds. A bear that is starving does not weigh costs and benefits. It pursues food with an urgency that overrides even the limited caution it would otherwise exercise. Attacks on humans in Arctic communities have increased. Encounters that would previously have ended with a bear moving on now sometimes escalate. The bear that walks into a town in late summer is not the same animal as the bear hunting on the spring ice. It is the same body, with higher desperation. What climate change is producing, in other words, is not a polar bear in decline. It is a polar bear under pressure, pushed toward human spaces, operating at the edge of its physiological limits, more willing to take risks, and less able to afford restraint. The largest polar bear ever recorded weighed just a predatory intelligence, standing 3